Hey guys, this is video 4. I want to show you how to do a handle. There's a few ways you could do this, and you don't need the detail to be exactly what it would be when you build it. It might be hard to, if you start making different shapes on the handle, it might be hard, let's say, to put a rounded edge on it after you've made the handle a certain shape. So we don't have to go nuts for this in SketchUp, but you just have to have something that along the lines of what you're going to build. So there's a few ways you could do this. I'm going to start with a rectangle. And I'm just going to draw a rectangle on here. I want to make sure that I'm keeping with the wood thickness we're using. So we're using 3/4 inch thick wood. So if you guys look at the bottom right, the dimensions, I don't know, I'll make this like 1.5 inches. So don't forget, you could do decimals. You could do 1.5 inches. Right, that'll be 1.5 inches from top to bottom, comma. Second dimension has to be 3/4 because that's the wood that we're using. I think I'm mostly in the center. If I want to move this a little bit just to center it, that's, we could do that. I'm eyeballing it at this point because, again, once you make your handle and your box is built, we'll measure it, but you have these shapes that don't have squareness to them. So in some cases you're kind of finding the center, and then you're gonna do your best to put it there. So we can move this. I think it's a little bit low, a little bit to the left. So I'm gonna click on it twice. Whoops. Hold on. You gotta make sure you don't want to click the back here. So I want to just click the box I drew. I'm gonna click twice. There we go. So a double click right on the plane, right in the center of the rectangle, will just highlight the rectangle, nothing else. I'm just gonna hit the move tool, and then I'm gonna just, whoa, you gotta be careful. I don't want it to disappear. Huh. You gotta adjust your view. We don't want it to go back. All right, so try and get it as much in the center as you can. Okay, and once you have it sort of in the center, we'll pull it. So we're going to use the push pull. You might want to change your view up a little bit. So I'm going to hold control. I'm going to click control, get my little dot. You see the dot pop up. Now I'm going to push it. You don't have to come out or anything. You can if you want. If that's going to be your style, but you don't have to. So I'm going to go right to the inside edge here. You see, if I put the mouse over the inside face of the opposite side on the edge, that'll pull it exactly to it. Okay, so now I have just a straight rectangle 3D pulling from one end to the other. So you could do something as simple as creating like an arch, let's say, right, like as a handle. And I think if you go online, you'll see somewhere like that. So if we go to the arc tool, we'll select the second one again, and I could just go from endpoint to endpoint. If you want your arc to start in the middle, you'd have to draw like a line here and then a line here, and then from that line you would choose the endpoints of that line, and you'd have like a smaller scallop, let's say, for a hand grip. For the sake of simplicity, I'm just going from the endpoint here to the endpoint on the opposite side. I'm going to bring up an arc, and I'm not even going to see what. I'm not even going to look at the measurement. I don't care. I'm just kind of just eyeballing it. I'll zoom in. If you zoom in more, you get a little more control. That's fine. There's an arc. Hit spacebar to disengage the tool. Whoops, you guys see the mistake I just made. I didn't click the right endpoint. Let me just go back and delete that. Let's start that one more time. All right, so again, see, the view is everything, right? Like I didn't have a good view on it, so I clicked the wrong point. So that's the endpoint of the wood. I want to click the opposite endpoint of the wood, and then I got my arc, right? So I'm going to bring my arc up. I'm just eyeballing it. I'm not even looking at the measurement. It's fine. Okay, now we got an arc in the right place. So now what we could do is we'll hit the space bar to disengage the tool, the arc tool. Now we're going to choose push pull, hit control, push it out. All right, now this is where the view becomes a problem. I want to push this straight out. So I'm going to rotate my view a little bit and push it. There we go. View is everything with 3D. You see, just changing the angle, it behaved a different way. So I was able to change the angle and then actually more clearly see that which way I was pushing it to get rid of it. So I pushed it out. There's my handle. So for the sake of the drawing, you could stop right there if you want. when you actually do the handle in the wood shop, obviously you can hit with the router. The problem with this program is it's once you create a shape like this arch here, it becomes hard to to route like an edge around this entire curve here. You still can for the straight part, but if you want to do anything else to this, you might want to move it. So I'm gonna make it a component just so I can hold it all together. Let's call this handle. Again, you're really done at this point if you want to just be done at this point. But if anyone is kind of anal about it and wants to see what else they can do, I just made the handle component. I'm just going to move it to get it away from the rest of the box. Because the thing is, if you want to keep editing something that's kind of intersecting other shapes, it becomes difficult to work on it while it's intersecting other shapes. Your views are obstructed. You might accidentally edit one of the other shapes if you didn't make it a component. So if you want to do more work on this, make it a component, move it out of the way temporarily, just so we can work on it. Now, the thing is, because this is a component, we can't edit it unless we right-click and go to Edit Component. Now, we can edit it. You see there's this big outer box on it. So let's say you wanted to put the same kind of concave, like scallop on the OG edge, right? Let's say you wanted to do that. So we can put a circle on it. And we want to match the sides, so let's make sure that we're doing the same thing on both sides. So what's my radius? 1/4 inch radius. Let's leave it at that. Oops. Type in 1/4. I had it. I lost it. Okay, there's my 1/4 inch circle. So if we push it out, and again, you want after you made it a component, you want to see this big box around it. That means you're in edit mode. That means you can edit the component. So hang on 1 second, guys. Before I push this out, I want to delete a few things. You want to delete the parts of the circle you don't want because it'll actually create the circle. All right, so we want to be left with this little quarter circle here. Push it out. Gone. All right, and then you can do the same thing to the other side. Hit the space bar, disengage the push-pull. Click on your circle. Whoops, wrong plane. Watch that. That's all. See, that's all view. So if I move the view like that a little bit, I'll get the right plane. Okay, I'm on the right plane. Okay, I'm going to type in 1/4. Hit the space bar to disengage the circle tool. You're back to the selection tool. Click on the parts you don't want. Hit delete. Right, I don't want the line. Now I'll push it. I don't know if that's the most comfortable handle. Maybe we should have rounded it, but whatever. So that's decorative, right? The problem you'd have if you try to scallop this arch, that's a whole different thing. That's really beyond. I would have to research how to do that. I'm not trying to do that on this program. I believe it's doable, but I'm gonna go nuts with the drawing. This is what we have here is perfectly adequate for plans that we could build off of. If you hit escape, you'll disengage edit mode, and your handle's back to being a component. And now you can just move it back in place. Right, hit the move tool, grab an end over here, just kind of. Again, view is everything. So, all right, I'm in the right place there. So maybe I'll get a top-down view and I can move it in place like that. Let's see, a little high. It doesn't have to be exact. Maybe this isn't a great view for this. Let's move it this way. There we go. The more you zoom in, the more control you'll have. I'm going to hold shift, hold my mouse, just move it down a drop. There we go. Whoops. Very touchy. All right, good enough. Look at that. We're poking through here. See, change your view, it changes everything. I'm going to always try and get on the line, on the end line if you can. It just works better. All right, I'm sorry. I'm getting embarrassed here. I'm having trouble moving this where I want it. All right, let's try that. How's that? Mostly there. Maybe just pull it down on the bottom a little. I'm always grab for an endpoint. It tends to just work better. It tends to keep it in the right place. All right, we're there. All right, guys. So we can go lower, maybe, or whatever. This is just a matter of taste at this point. Lower, higher, whatever. All right, we are there. So if you can do this, um, something along these lines, do something to personalize it. That's your box. That's all you need, guys. And you want dimensions on it, so why don't we just add those as long as we have the video open? So far, we just have dimensions on. It looks like I don't know what happened. It might have got deleted. So we just have the length of this. So we're gonna need the height. So let's just throw some dimensions on there. So I'll hit the spacebar tool to disengage whatever I had selected. I'm gonna go to where the tape measure is here. If you bring out that arrow, dimension tool. So we're gonna want here to here, right? You don't want to measure from the scallop. We don't care what that is to there. That doesn't tell us how big of a piece of wood to cut, right? So we always need the longest dimensions. So that's right here. That's before we put this route here. So from there to the bottom is 4 inches. From the bottom of this to the other side is foot and 4 inches. And again, yours should be whatever you want them to be. I just pick measurements. You guys should do your own thing. As far as these scallops, guys, we can use like a compass or something. They're not going to be exact. The best we can hope for is like symmetry. So, but we do want to know how big of a piece of wood this would have started out as, right? So let's dimension it. So we'll dimension from. Make sure you got them. Whoops. Make sure all right, selected. Make sure you dimension from here to here. This is how wide your piece. Whoops. So that was a 9-inch piece of wood. In my case, again, yours is whatever you want it to be. Don't copy what I'm doing. Find the midpoint on the bottom piece because this circle might be a little dicey, right? You might not click on the exact midpoint. So if you can see it shows me the midpoint, right? Just going near it, and I have the dimension tool engaged. It shows me the midpoint with that blue circle on the bottom. So I click that. We'll go straight up. Oh, and it finds the point. And there we go. Okay, so the height of this particular piece of wood was 9 inches, 9 1/8 inches, right? You got the dimension there. What else? The handle. We should use the hand. We should get a dimension on the handle. When you shouldn't cut your handle till after your box is actually assembled because the things don't always go exactly right, and you might be a little bit off, whatever. So the handle's the very last thing. You should have an assembled, glued, and dried box before you actually cut your handle, and then you can measure the inside of this face to inside of that face. Let's do that. So I'm still engaged with the measuring tool. So I want to find. I can't. I mean, I could pick this endpoint here and just go straight to there. The arch won't affect it, but just to be sure, I'm gonna go on what I know is a straight line. So I'm gonna choose this endpoint here, and I'm gonna go to the opposite endpoint. See, be careful. I almost selected that. That's why if you zoom in, or if you're like me and you don't see well, you might have a problem. Okay, why did I not get that? Let's try this again. Select your dimension tool, click there, click there. There we go, there's my dimension. Okay. What else? You might have a hard time getting the height of the wood here. Let's try it though. Right, the height of the handle. I know it's 1.5 inches because that's what I drew it as. But let's see how that might work out as a dimension. So select your dimension tool. So let's say we go from this bottom point and we want to go up to here. Okay. So it knows where it used to be. Before we put that scallop in the wood, it knows where the wood used to be, right? So as it says 1.5 inches, it pops a dot there. Okay, that's good. Right, so even though that corner was missing because we pulled it out with a circle, a quarter circle, it knows where the top used to be. So that's 1.5 inches. Your wood is 3/4 of an inch thick. This happens sometimes. You gotta just zoom in past it with a scroll wheel. There we go. You're working with 3/4 of an inch stock, so you should really show that anyway. So click on here, click here, 3/4 of an inch. Oops, it's so annoying when this happens. Just orbit away from it, zoom out with your thumb wheel. It looks like you get lost, but just keep zooming out and it'll move. Okay, if you guys can hand in something like this, you will get 100. All right, please don't sit there and not do this for the next, however many days, and then come to school and tell me you don't know what you're doing. I'm here to help you. You can present to me. I can present to you. You have the videos. I can help you do anything you need. So please let me know. Good luck.